Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Live from the Govardhan Echo Village, this is Wisdom of the Sages, your daily yoga podcast. I'm your host, Raghunath, my co-host, Kaustubha Prabhu. Honored to be here. I'm here with all our students from our 300-hour training, from actually all our trainings. We got 3 trainings going on here for this entire month. And we are here to study the
Srimad Bhagavatam?
Srimad Bhagavatam. I was going to say something about the Bhagavatam first, but the Srimad Bhagavatam is the pinnacle of resurrection of your spiritual life. It's there to specifically find your connection in Bhakti-yoga. And of all the people who've studied the Vedas, even the author himself says, this is the cream of the crop. This is like the gold standard for resurrecting our spiritual self and how to engage ourself in the material world, where we're getting sort of like, we're in the world, we have to be in the world, we're not recluses, but at the same time, we're not of the petty stuff of this world. This podcast is especially meant for yogis who want to deepen their spiritual understanding of traditional Vedic literature. It's for people who want to apply these things, these teachings of yoga to their life, to enhance their life, to upgrade their life, to better their life. And it's for people who just want a regular dose of wisdom given from the sages, but sort of updated for a contemporary world. And I'm here with Kaustubha, my lifelong friend. And yes, we'd also like to say the podcast Wisdom of the Sages, we're not the sages. We're here to repeat what the sages of ancient India taught to us. And so we made it through verse 1 yesterday. We've got only 17,999 more. I think we're doing pretty good. And we're also here with our live audience, which is numbered about 68 right now, live on Zoom. If you have any questions for us, you can email our assistant, Mara G. She went to private school. She's really good.
Okay.
She's really good at answering emails. And so you can write her at, what's your email address? wisdomofthesages108@gmail.com. Any questions? And also the people on Zoom, you can write in your questions as well on our chat board. And there we are. They're started already with good morning all. Okay. So should we jump right back into this verse? Because we didn't even quite finish the verse.
Okay.
The first verse is sort of like, it's sort of lofty. But it's very thick. You can
dense.
peel it up. It's dense. You can peel it apart. You know, there's many, many layers to it, like a gobstopper.
Yes.
Right? Different flavors, different colors, different textures. All
All of them sweet, though.
of them very sweet. That's one thing about the Bhakti tradition. It becomes very sweet because at the essence, the soul is very sweet. We were saying in class this morning that the material world's a little bitter. It's a little nasty. It's a little terse, a little harsh. Yet in spiritual life, Bhakti life, the culture is sweet. The relationships are sweet. Our friendships are sweet. The songs are sweet. Everything is sweet. It is very, very sweet. And these songs, the whole Bhagavatam is an actual song. Yeah. It's actually all prose. It's an epic. And it's one of the top 3 ones of ancient India, the Mahabharata being the biggest epic in history, according to Wikipedia. 100,000 Sanskrit couplets, the biggest epic in the world.
I love it when you use those kind of words, Roger. Couplets.
Sanskrit couplets? Thank you very much. Then, of course, you have the Ramayana, which is, I think, 36,000 verses. The Adi Kavi, the original poem, it said. Ancient works. And the Srimad Bhagavatam, all the stories of the great kings of ancient India, as well as the avatars of Lord Vishnu, and also the whole life story of baby Krishna, sweet baby Krishna. The interesting thing is these stories, as fantastic as they are, they're sort of peppered with deep spiritual truths. And that's what the commentators on the Bhagavatam extract out of these stories. Sometimes the verses themselves give, interesting downloads of wisdom, but the commentators especially tease them out, riff on them, so to speak. And you sort of get it. And this is how you're supposed to be studying these books. We don't just sit in a room and study because what happens is to study ancient literature out of context, it's almost like pulling a tube out of your car engine and say, here's a carburetor, and handing it to someone like, what's this? I don't know what this is. It's out of context. It has no use, practically speaking. In the car, in the engine, it makes valuable contribution. Thank you. So in the same way, this literature is meant to be studied in context from teachers who've been living it and applying it, and from hearing it from their teachers who've been living it and applying it. It's not something that outsiders can understand. When me and Kaustubha were younger, we used to go to CBGB's, famous punk club in New York City in the Lower East Side. And what would happen in CBGB's? It was crazy. It was the origin of moshing and stage diving, And for people who were in that scene and devoted to that scene, it was all sort of like a game. It was a crazy sort of a football game. People jumping up and down, It wasn't as violent sort of as it appeared, although it was a little violent too. But for outsiders, it just seemed like complete chaos. And sometimes the New York Times, the Village Voice would write an article like, this is insane, this is crazy. But they didn't get it because they weren't devoted to it.
Gotta get in it.
You gotta be in it. And so in the same way, to really understand the Bhagavatam, you've got to become devoted to the Bhagavatam. To understand the Gita, you've got to understand the Gita, or else you get an outsider's perspective. I'm using the punk rock analogy. The saints of ancient India use the jar of honey analogy. They say you can't study honey by just observing the jar. How do you understand honey? You open that, you unscrew it, and you stick your little paw in there. Some of you are laughing because you've seen me eat honey before.
So it's not even academic qualification.
There's no academic qualification.
Even though it's a profound literary work.
Right.
It has to do with one's disposition or one's attitude.
It becomes an affair of the heart. It becomes an affair of the heart, right? That's how we go into this Bhagavatam.
All right.
Shall we start?
We shall.
Okay.
Mantras?
Yes, there's mantras. We always chant these mantras at the beginning of this. And sometimes people think, oh, come on, we just chanted these yesterday. But it's important in this culture that on a regular basis, before we dive into anything, there's an appreciation for what we have. And in that appreciation, we start to think, this has been given to me. Truthfully, the whole spiritual culture is about appreciation. It's our biggest deficit in this world, isn't it? If you think about it, why do we wreck the earth? We have no appreciation for the earth. Why do we cut down rainforests? We have no appreciation for the rainforest. Why do we slaughter the animals? We have no appreciation for living beings. It's our biggest deficit. If we can just muster up a little appreciation. So before we read the sacred literature, we thank the literature itself. We thank the sages. We thank the teachers. We thank the goddess of learning. I'm giving away the whole prayer here. But
We're done.
We're done. Good. Bye. What's that? Move over a little? Okay. Mara, she's allowed to say that. Move on. Okay. You got those prayers, Mara? Thank you, G. Okay, it starts like this. Narayanam namaskrityam naram chaiva narottamam devim saraswatim vyasam tato jayam udirayet. Before reciting the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is the very means of conquest, one should offer respectful obeisances to the personality of Godhead, Narayan. Unto Narayan Rishi, the supermost human being, unto Mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning, and to Srila Vyasadeva, the author. Nasta prayesha bhadreshu nityam bhagavata sevaya bhagavati uttama shloke bhaktir bhavati naishtiki. By regular attendance in classes on the Bhagavatam, and by rendering service to the pure devotee, all that is troublesome to the heart is almost completely destroyed. And loving service to the personality of Godhead, who is praised with transcendental songs, is established in the heart as an irrevocable fact. I think it's safe to say, because even though this is our second podcast, we've been doing this for a little bit over a year, and people are on this Zoom call every day. It's strangely addictive, right? Now, there's other things addictive in the material world. Anybody can mention a few? Anybody have a particular addiction of choice? Well, there's things that are addictive that actually drag us so far down, they ruin our life, that wreck our family, that make us lose our job, that make us lose our wealth. There's addictive things that dismantle our whole existence. The Srimad Bhagavatam is addictive, and it brings you higher. It makes you feel more connected. And that's what happens. People just want to show up on a regular basis to feed. The mouth needs some food. The soul needs food. The soul needs food. I can just feed this mouth and feed this mouth, but there's still a hunger that's in. Our guru's guru used to say that it's like polishing, what is it? What do you say?
Mirror? I don't know.
Oh,
I know
he said it's
one.
like putting gas in the car,
Okay.
but never feeding the driver.
Okay.
Maybe he didn't say that. Maybe I just said that. But that's what it's like. Well, okay, I'm going to read through what we read, but I'm not going to stop. And then I'm just going to start with how we ended. So here is Vyasadeva saying it. O my Lord Sri Krishna, son of Vasudeva, O all-pervading personality of Godhead, I offer respectful obeisances to you. I meditate upon Lord Sri Krishna because he is the absolute truth and the primeval cause of all causes, of the creation, sustenance, and destruction of the manifested universes. He is directly and indirectly conscious of all manifestations, and he is independent because there is no other cause beyond him. It is he only who first imparted the Vedic knowledge unto the heart of Brahmaji, the original living being. By him, even the great sages and demigods are placed into illusion, as one is bewildered by the illusory representations of water seen in fire or land seen on water. Only because of him do the material universes, temporally manifested by the three gunas, or the three modes of material nature, appear factual, although in fact these universes are unreal. I therefore meditate upon him, Lord Sri Krishna, who is eternally existent in the transcendental abode, which is forever free from the illusory representations of the material world. I meditate upon him, for he is the absolute truth. That's a powerful first verse to start this off with. Material world is compared to dreamlike, because we were saying yesterday, it's asat, it's temporary. Ever have a dream, a real dream? It looks so real. A dream you're in love. A dream ever have a dream you're rich? Like, oh, and you sort of wake up like, oh, and then you're like, oh. Ever have a dream that was so good, you're like, I want to go back to bed. I'm in the middle of a good dream. How crazy is that? Now, here's a question. Sometimes you've had fearful, ever have a fearful dream? Like you're getting attacked, chased. In those fearful dreams, your heart in your real life, in your real body, can actually race, right? You can even have a cold sweat. Let me ask you a question. Suppose I'm being chased by a pack of wolves in my dream. Mara.
She's enjoying that thought.
Imagine you're having a dream, you're getting chased by a pack of wolves. Your heart is racing, you're sweating, you're perspiring, you wake up screaming. Here's a question. Is that real or unreal?
It's crickets, literally.
Literally crickets. Right? Is it real? You're sweating. Why is it? Is it real? Yeah, it's real. It's real. We're the wolves. Right? It's real because it's affecting you, but it's actually concocted in the mind. Why is it not real? Well, just woke up. I just woke up. It's over. It's temporary. This whole world appears factual, but like a dream, it's temporary. Isn't that weird to think like that? It appears real, but it's temporary. It's not a 6-hour dream, a 5-hour dream, a 3-hour dream, an 80-year dream. Has anybody been in a relationship and married before? Right? You've been married before, maybe 2 years, 3 years, and you're just, oh, I love you. See you in an hour. Thumbs up. Wow. All these like emojis you send. And now you look back at it. Now you're in a new relationship, maybe even new marriage, maybe even new kids. And you look back at it and almost like it's as if it was a dream. Guess what? That's the whole material world. It's as if it was a dream. Anybody have teenage kids in their 20s? And you look back at those kids when they were 5 and 4 and 3. We just set up our Christmas tree. We got little Christmas pictures on the Christmas tree when the big kids were little. And it's like, it was as if it was a dream. That's the material world. It's dreamlike. It's here. It feels so solid, but it's actually asat. It's temporary. And what do you do with those wolves in the dream? If you're getting attacked by the wolves, what should you do? Pick up a shotgun and shoot the wolves? How do you protect yourself from those wolves? Yeah, you shoot them. No, you don't shoot them. You don't shoot them. You wake up from the dream. There's pain in this world. There's loss in this world. There's suffering in this world. And we're trying to cure the problems of this world by shooting the wolves. Do you understand? We're trying to shoot the wolves. Don't shoot the wolves. It's not going to make the problems go away. We can't use them, right?
Hashtag.
Don't shoot the wolves. Don't you shoot those wolves.
Or hashtag wake up.
Yeah, it is. I'm not going to fix my material issues with a material solution. I'm not going to fix my dreamlike problems with a material solution. It's just going to create more problems. What do I got to do?
Wake up.
Wake up. I got to wake up from this dream. How do you do it? By hearing truth on a regular basis. This isn't my program. I'm not that smart. This was Srila Vyasadev's program. This was Vyasadev's program. Regular attendance in the Bhagavatam. And that's why I'm here with Kaustubha. To shut up and listen to him. Right, DTG? She's like, yeah, boy, this is my turn to talk. Okay.
That was great, though. I like that a lot. In other words, yeah, the idea.
Good analogy?
It's a great analogy.
I stole it.
Did you?
Yeah, see, you can steal things in spiritual life. In material world, you steal things. It's called copyright infringement.
Yeah.
In spiritual life, it's called parampara. You can write this down. By the way, in this show, we wanted to encourage, you can take notes, especially yoga teachers. We should know this stuff. Parampara means we hear from a disciplic succession. That's how I learned this stuff. It's called copyright infringement, or hearing things from teachers who heard it from teachers who heard it from teachers. And a good teacher wants you to take all their stuff and give it away. Prabhu?
Nice. It's to think of this world as an illusion. It means you actually have to slow down for a second. You know, not necessarily you. You can keep going. Okay. But I'm saying it's like we're generally, if you bring up that idea, we're living in an illusion. I mean, first of all, it really has to be defined more clearly, and I think you went part of the way with that in a sense. Of course, you know, you can always go deeper and deeper into that. But for people to actually bend their mind enough to not just accept what's right in front of them as reality and there's nothing beyond it is challenging for people. And when you're caught in a rat race of life, people don't slow down. They actually become cynical or skeptical of any kind of deeper introspection like that. But to think about it, you know, Edgar Allan Poe wrote this poem.
Are you really going to quote Edgar Allan Poe?
I'm going to quote Poe.
He's going to quote Poe.
Who said...
He's quoting Poe!
Oh, I got it right. I think he said, all that we see or seem is but a dream within a dream. Right? Because quite factually, we also live in dreams within. If this life is in a sense a dream, we also dream within this dream. Not just like when we're asleep, but when we fantasize.
It's double illusion. It's double Maya.
Yeah, you go. Or what to speak of if you watch a film.
Right.
That's a dream within the dream.
Right. The Titanic. I'm crying.
Yeah.
I'm crying for a life that's not even real or mine.
Right. But in the same way, it's real but unreal. Like there's light on the screen.
Right.
That's real.
Right.
But the character is actually a phantasmagoria. It's just that character doesn't actually exist. And the actor that's playing it actually isn't even there. There's just the light on the screen. But even so it's dreams within dreams within dreams. But we spend our lives caught with the mind deeply absorbed in dreams within dreams within dreams. And the Bhagavatam is just saying, you can actually, here it was saying that even the devas, even like the gods, right? Those,
Sure.
and here in this literature it's being defined that there are beings that, just like many cultures have a conception that there's persons behind the sun, behind the moon, behind the river, behind the mountain, behind the earth.
They're giving you a thumbs up for Phantasmagoria, by the way.
Phantasmagoria. So similarly, in this Bhagavatam culture, in this Vedic culture, in the writings of the sages of India, there's the idea that there are beings that are behind all these natural elements. But it's saying, and they're greatly elevated. Their intelligence, their understanding about life is generally far beyond ours.
Mm.
But even they have entered into the dream, and to one degree or another, an illusion.
And the great sages, as you said, the great sages.
Even the sages can be affected with it. But there's one being. There's one absolute truth. He wants to define this so clearly because he's written so much and he hasn't gotten to this point. So now he's coming right out in the first verse and saying, there is a person, there is a being that has multifarious energies and that people often identify those energies as being God. And they are in one sense. But even beyond that, there's this being. And that being is the one that puts the others, by their desire, places them into illusion. So that if you want to enter the dream, I'll provide the dream for you. But he's always beyond that dream. And so there's truth there. And so he's saying in this verse, I meditate upon him. If I want to wake up, then I meditate on what's beyond the dream. And he's defining that as Sri Krishna here.
Can I tell you a funny story?
Please.
They use this as an analogy in the Vedas, and I never quite understood it. They say that when a child wants to catch the moon, ever heard that analogy?
Why don't you get it? You say
I've
heard you share it.
Yeah. I'm gonna say. So I never heard. I was thinking, child want to catch the moon, but then I remember my son, my little child, when he was 4 years old, he was here actually, and the moon was gigantic, and he looked at the moon and he tried to catch the moon, and he would go like this, "Come on, moon, come on!" And maybe he was like two. And so they say in India, when a child wants to catch the moon, he can't have the moon. So the mother places a bowl of water, and the moon reflects in the water, and it gives the child the spoon. He plays with the moon. So we can't be the supreme. We can't be the center. So the illusion is created for us. Why do we desire illusion?
We're independent. We just
we can do desire. I mean, come on. Haven't you ever desired illusion before? Haven't you willingly chosen illusion?
When you're a child, you're provided things that you want but can't have. You're given illusions, like you're given toys. Like a little boy will be given a toy car. He wants to drive a real car, but he's given a reflection of a car, like a toy
Good
car.
Analogy.
Right?
Good analogy.
And then you enjoy that for some time.
A toy kitchen.
Yeah, toy little bake oven. Yeah.
Baking oven.
Those are, in a sense, reflections. They're based, just as a dream is based on reality. There's nothing in your dream that doesn't exist. You don't dream of anything that doesn't exist. You may combine things that exist and come up with something different. But whatever comes up in your dream exists in reality. And similarly, a child is playing with a toy lawnmower because a real lawnmower exists. Without the real lawnmower, the toy never exists. And similarly, the pleasures that we're seeking in this world, the sages are telling us, they're also reflections of true enjoyment that exists in another realm, and we're dreaming, we're kind of playing in that, and that's quite a bit to bite off, you know.
I want to shed a little light on this, because a lot of times, especially people are joining us and sort of like, we practice yoga and we hear these things about the gods, and I have a picture of Lord Shiva on my wall, and I have a picture of Ganesh, and I have a Ganesh tattoo, and all this stuff, and people, and we understand these things and these higher beings, but you guys are talking about them as if they're real beings, and that I just find this this
implausible.
Implausible, fantastic. I mean, come on, we're adults here. This is, and I can honestly say, this is what, even when I first went to India, I was like, okay, I believe in spirit, but you really think Ganesh wrote all this stuff down? Because that's what they say. They say Ganesh was the scribe
for Vyasadeva.
Yeah. He was Vyasadev's scribe. So one of my first questions when I went to India was, we're all adults here.
We can be honest with each other.
We can be way honest with each other. I mean, We're rational thinking adults. You really think an elephant-headed man wrote all this stuff down? Come on. And can't we just extract some deep meaning, some practical wisdom for our life? That seems like a more reasonable understanding. Now, the Vedas are very interesting because they tell you when they're creating an allegory. We were reading the 4th canto the other day, how it's an allegory. And it says, this is an allegory. And it says when it should be taken literal. For the most part, this stuff is to be literal. Now, people find that unbelievable. So the response I got when I was 22 and I went to India and asked that question was, what do you know? What is your actual experience in this world? And the fact is, we have very little experience. I haven't seen anything. I know very, very little. If I grew up in the United States 400 years ago, to imagine a giraffe would be unbelievable. I just
got a real long neck.
Yeah, if Mara went to Africa and came back to New York where our tribe lived, and she said, I saw this horse with a giant long neck and polka dots eating the leaves from the trees, I think she was insane.
You'd say maybe a little long.
Yeah, a little long. Like my horse has a long neck. You think as long as mine, right? Or she said, I saw a striped horse. Well, my horse has a big black neck. Is that what you mean? No, striped. So when you see a zebra compared to a horse, even today, if I was to see a zebra, it's quite fantastic. It's practically speaking, unbelievable.
It's like a dream.
It's like a dream. And what to speak of where I live in upstate New York, there's a bunch of turkeys. You see turkeys flying around. You ever see a turkey? They're sort of cool, sort of ugly. I'm just speaking, But if you've ever seen a peacock, it's like a turkey.
Yeah.
But like in these colors they couldn't ever imagine.
Psychedelic turkey.
If all you've seen is turkeys and a peacock shows up, it's unbelievable. Ever see a peacock's tail feathers? They're like eyeballs.
Iridescent.
You know what's really even weirder about those tail feathers? They have the exact same tail feathers in miniature on their head. That's unbelievable. And there's more stuff out there. There's stuff we haven't even discovered. So as far as fantastic things go, we don't even know what we don't even know. What do I know? And even if that's just this planet. And sometimes it's so funny. We always say things like, well, there's probably only life on this planet. What? How arrogant a statement is that? According to the Vedas, there's living entities on every planet. So the next question is, well, not the moon. We went to the moon. Obviously, there's no life there. The question then would be, how do you know? Even if you went to the moon, how do you know you could see everything that's on the moon? Right?
There are things that exist that we don't see.
Hey, there's a bug on my computer. Do you think the bug is like, oh, podcast time? The podcast is happening right in front of the bug. But there's no way he can get in his little bug brain that there's a podcast going on. We're bugs.
That's what I say. You calling us bugs?
Yeah, we're bugs.
Okay.
And we're trying to speculate about what's on other planets. You could be on the moon going, nothing's here. Nothing's here. I don't see nothing. It's a bug saying that. Right? It's Horton Hears a Who. Do you know that book? Horton Hears a Who? That's a deep philosophical book right there. There's little tiny universes within universes. Horton Hears a Who. Anyway, I wanted to say something else, if you don't mind, about them, because we also talk about, well, what about these gods, these higher beings, these devas? What do you mean there's a god of the sun, the god of the wind, the god of the earth? Goddess of the earth. How can that be? What do we know? For example, we feel the wind blowing, and we think, well, we meteorologists have figured this one out. Have we? For example, there's an ant, and I'm blowing on the ant. The ant has no clue that that wind is coming from a being, right? There's no clue, but it is. The ant just thinks, oh, there's that wind thing, danger, danger. But it's actually coming from a being. There's a being. So this is the interesting thing about the Vedic paradigm. there is personality behind everything. We see a banyan tree, we see a white pine tree. They're personalities, they're beings, they're individuals. You see a dog, a horse, a cat, they're individuals. It's not like just like we have the sole right to individuality. Every living being is an individual, right down to this gross being, the planet. This is a gross being. Now, to me, well, what do you mean it's a being? It's a lump of rock and salt water and fire. Yeah, so is your damn body. Your body is just earth and water and fire and air, right? But there's a being inside it, animating it. When a mosquito's biting you, it's not thinking, okay, there's Kaustubha, I love him. Kaustubha's like, there's that thing I suck. It's not thinking that you have a life. Remember when you got dengue fever?
Yeah.
That dengue fever mosquito was not thinking, I'm going to give this guy dengue fever.
Yeah.
That mosquito's just biting. He's looking for things to eat. So we are like mosquitoes just sucking from the earth, forgetting that this is a being also. What do you think?
I agree.
What do you think,
We are mosquitoes sucking from the earth.
Okay, someone gave me a "What do you think, Kaustubha" bracelet. It was Nika.
Oh, is that what that says?
Yeah,
that's what you were saying.
Yeah, that's what I was saying.
Okay.
What do you think? Because every class I say, "What do you think, Kaustubha?" And so now I just got my bracelet. Thanks, Nika. G. Did you want to read part of your purport? See,
what I suggest we read the next two verses.
Okay.
Because there's going to be shift then, and we're going to get to the questions of the sages.
Yeah, because we're going to hit up at this story. The story starts in quite a fantastic way.
There's going to be a whole shift tomorrow.
Okay.
And the sages ask some very fascinating. Basically, they ask, how do we find the highest happiness in life? And it gets very fascinating. But these three verses are kind of a prelude. So why don't we read these? We've read the first, we read the second and third. And
Can I share about the king?
Share whatever you'd like to share.
I mean, the whole thing takes place because there's a king.
Of course, that's the second canto.
That's the second chapter, isn't it?
No.
The king about to die?
That happens. He's introduced at the end of the first canto, and then he starts asking his questions at the beginning.
Well, let me just give you like a little trailer.
No, but if you want to talk about
Here's a little trailer. There's a king, a great noble king, and this is how the whole thing starts. There's a king, a noble, beloved, dharmic leader who's cursed to die in 7 days. And in that 7 days, he has to wrap up his business, go to the forest, find a teacher, and pose these questions. What is the duty of a man about to die? I'm about to die. What should I be doing? What should I be thinking of? What should I be meditating on? How should I speak? Now, these are relevant questions, because if we really thought like this king, we wouldn't waste a moment. See, we're all men or women about to die. It might not be 7 days. It might be 7 years, 70 years. We don't know. The king had the blessing of knowing. But this is some urgency in our life. What am I supposed to do in this very short life? And if I don't know, and if I don't ask this question, I'm just flopping around, wasting time. See, the yogis say there is a reason why we're here. It's not just random flapping around, trying to have some fun, get distracted, take up hobbies till I die. There's a reason why we're here. We're here to evolve. And there's ways to assist you to evolve. And the interesting thing is, if we all knew and we really all meditated and kept at the forefront of our mind that we could possibly die, or that we are going to die tomorrow morning, wouldn't that radically change what we do tonight? If you really thought we're going to die tomorrow morning, what would you do tonight? I highly doubt you'd say, I'm going to go to bed early. I want to get a good rest up for death. It would more likely be, man, I want to make some phone calls. I want to say some I'm sorry's, some thank yous, some please forgive me's. If we really lived in that consciousness that life is temporary, and this is what the Bhagavatam brings us to, this urgency about life, where you're not to be morbid, but to not waste a moment any longer. You want to read?
Let us not waste another moment.
Let's not waste another
I've got it
moment.
right here.
You got it. Okay.
Completely rejecting all religious activities which are materially motivated. This Bhagavad Purana, the Srimad Bhagavatam, propounds the highest truth, which is understandable by those devotees who are fully pure in heart. So that's talking about that qualification. And by being fully pure in heart, I mean, to the degree that you're pure in heart, you can understand it. But it means that the motive is correct, right? That I want truth, that I'm not searching for something for myself. I'm not competing and searching for something for myself, but that I simply want truth. The highest truth is reality distinguished from illusion for the welfare of all. Seeing this world for what it actually is. Such truth uproots the threefold miseries, and maybe we'll talk about the threefold miseries later, but the miseries of life. This beautiful Bhagavatam, compiled by the great sage Vyasadeva in his maturity, meaning he had written so much, but this is where he finally gave it all, is sufficient in itself for God realization. What is the need of any other scripture? As soon as one attentively and submissively hears the message of Bhagavatam, by this culture of knowledge, the Supreme Lord is established within the heart. Boom! Right. Within the heart. So that it's, in one sense, God has already established it, but you realize it. You realize divinity within oneself.
That was beautiful. That was beautiful. You're beautiful.
You too. In text 3?
Text 3.
You want to read it?
I love that verse. The highest truth is reality distinguished from illusion for the welfare of all. The idea is that the best thing we can do for anybody is to give them information about the self. It's the highest welfare you can do to anyone. It's not to give someone money, not to give even somebody some food, although that's a nice thing to do. I mean, you can give someone money, they can use that money for something that's going to ruin their life. The best thing you can do is give a person direction. That's why to really imbibe the Bhagavatam is the best thing I could do for myself. To give the Bhagavatam is the best thing I could do. You become the person's best friend, because what you're doing is you're recalibrating someone's personal compass and how to move in the world. And even though the Bhagavatam is truth, it's going to be applied differently for each person because we all have a different body, mind, psychology, etc. We're all going to apply truth to our lives in different ways. Text 3. Yep. O expert and thoughtful men, relish Srimad Bhagavatam, the mature fruit of the desire tree of Vedic literatures. A desire tree is this mythological, they say it's not mythological, they say it's like a otherworldly tree that gives you whatever you desire. They say that the Vedas, the Vedic teachings, give you everything that you desire. You want even mystical powers, material opulence, enjoying the material world, higher planets. What do they call it?
You covered the spectrum pretty good.
I know it was pretty good spectrum, right? Liberation from pain in the material world. But it gives you whatever you want. It says,
but those would be immature fruits.
Those are immature. The Srimad Bhagavatam, the mature fruit of the desire tree of Vedic literatures. It emanated from the lips of Sri Sukadeva Goswami. So Sukadeva Goswami was the teacher to that king. It emanated, and therefore this fruit has become even more tasteful. Although its nectarian juice was already relishable for all, including liberated souls. Now this is very cool. This is a really cool thing. And it's interesting because the teacher's name was Sukadeva Goswami. And Sukha also means a parrot. So when a bird eats a fruit or pecks on a fruit, if you were to eat that fruit, that part that he pecked is even sweeter. So it says, this mature fruit of Vedic knowledge, it's even sweeter because it has become, because it's spoken by the lips of Sukadeva Goswami. And it's becoming more tasteful, although the nectarian juice was already relishable for all, including liberated souls. There's another interesting point. the Bhagavatam starts to recognize that there's different types of liberated souls. There's different levels of liberated souls, and there's activities of liberated souls. Isn't that an interesting concept? Like, okay, I'm a liberated soul. Now what? I just sit here under a tree, like meditating. That's whippy. So the idea is that there's activity that gives even joy to someone who's not even bound up by the things of this world. And there's degrees of liberated souls. And then we were speaking, I think we were winding up the class yesterday with this concept of mukti, those who are on the path of mukti, or freedom from the material world, freedom from the pain of the material world. So there's this three concepts of bhukti. I want to enjoy the material world. And that's where most of us are in the material world. That looks good. He looks cool. She looks beautiful. That looks delicious. I want to go here. I want to go to Iceland. I want to, right? Iceland, I don't know where I picked that one from, but there's an idea of I want to enjoy the material world. And some of us get to this point where we go like, you know what? I've done it all. I've tried it all. I've eaten it all. I've been around. I want something deeper. There's nothing that I can put in my mouth or put in my ears, or there's nobody I can date. There's no soulmate that's going to make me whole or complete. And when you really get exhausted with trying to find your pleasure from the material world, hey, come on. It has its limits anyway. How much pleasure can I derive from this body? I love to eat. How much can I eat? And as my body gets older, my ceiling of enjoyment gets even lower. I know, as I eat a bad meal, it's like, that's it. That's today's meal. That's just part of getting older. The senses just get weaker. Therefore, you get frustrated with the senses, and you're like, you know what? There's got to be something more than just trying to enjoy through the senses. And those people, they want to start to go to something more. And they start to say, maybe there's an internal pleasure. Now, when I was younger, and I remember seeing a nun, and I thought, this poor nun, what a crappy life she has. Why the hell would she ever, what kind of sadistic God does not want her to have any fun in her life? Thou shalt not have fun, nun. No fun for you. But Kaustubha can vouch, we made those same crazy vows, but for a thoughtful reason. What didn't we do as monks? Well, we didn't have sex. According to Freud, that's what makes the whole world go around, sex. Didn't do that. Nothing. Not gross, not subtle, nothing. Didn't hang out with girls at all. What else didn't we do that people like to do? You go out to restaurants. I like restaurants. I like to eat like varieties of foods. I think go out to restaurants. Movies, no movies.
Yeah, all those fun things.
Grunge, I missed grunge. All of grunge went right over my head. I missed grunge completely. There was nothing, shopping, fashion. There's nothing to buy. Nothing to buy. How many robes am I going to buy? Closet fulls of robes? I had a couple robes. What else do people like to do? Stay up late, alcohol, didn't drink, didn't smoke, didn't go to clubs, didn't party, no parties. What do you do? And then you start to realize when you take away all the stuff from going outside to have fun, you're left with nothing except to go inside. That's why you take it away, to make it easy for you to go inside to find your joy. And that's why spiritual traditions all over the world have these monastic orders where people take away everything, not because God is sadistic, but it's led to lead us. And when you meet monks, and I'm sure you could vouch for me here, you know, when we first went to India, we met the monks and we were just like, oh my God, these people are happy with nothing at all. It's unbelievable. They figured it out. They cracked the code. They found the secret of secrets. How can I do that? I'm trying to run here, run there, go here, hook up here, eat this, and I'm not happy. Accumulate this, store this, build a fence around this. Now I'll be happy. Come on. And the monks do it with nothing. How do they do that? That's the dance. And that's what I wanted to taste. When I saw, they didn't have to preach to me. They didn't have to preach to me. They didn't have to lecture me. They didn't have to convert me. You know what they did? They had nothing and they smiled. And I realized I want that smile.
That's it.
Drop the mic. How did we get on that subject?
Because it said that it was nectar, that it was relishable for all. Here in the Bhagavatam is relishable for all, including liberated souls.
Including liberated souls.
So,
oh yeah, we were talking about the bhakti, the people trying to enjoy the material world, and the people who say, you know what, I want to go inside and enjoy pleasure inside. And then, of course, there is the people on the path of bhakti. And sweeter than even no pain from this world is, I want to experience spiritual relationship. Now, that's interesting because sometimes a lot of us, anyone who's over 21 maybe, has experienced misery or the pain of relationship. And that's the beautiful thing about bhakti. We've been burned by relationship, no relationships. And some yogic paths are like these paths of jnana or mukti. No, okay, relationships cause problems, no relationships. I'm going to be a monk forever. Huh? Or eating causes me problems, no eating. Speaking, I've criticized, I've hurt people, I've crushed people, I've ruined relationships with my words, no talking. These Mona Bubbas, they don't speak. It's very popular now to do these nine-day silence retreats, Vipassana retreats, right? You know, my wife says if I ever do that, my head would explode. I gotta talk. Might. But in bhakti, we say, don't get rid of your voice. Don't get rid of relationships. Just because there's counterfeit, there's been material relationships and material language, material activity. Take those same activities and spiritualize them. You don't have to give up what you do. It's not what you do, it's what you do with what you do. It didn't make sense. It's not what you got, it's what you do with what you got. And some people have a lot of talent. And you can spiritualize your talent. It's not about getting rid of desire. The soul by nature desires. You're not, what are you going to shove? You can't not desire anymore. What are you going to be like? Nyet! How long is that going to last for? Don't desire, don't desire, don't desire, don't desire. You got to desire. But what are you going to desire? Come on. There's desires that will wreck our life. And there's desires that will enhance our life. Is money good or bad? What you do with your money. Money's not the evil. It's what you can do some great. You can do some evil things with money, and you can do some great things with money. Words aren't evil, but they can be. They can also be, they can make you fall in love. So all the things of this material world are neither good nor bad. It's how they're harnessed. And bhakti is about not rejecting the material world, but taking the things of this world and using them in the way that will liberate us.
beautiful.
Trying to give a head bob here.
I think we're almost out of time.
8 minutes left.
We're good. We're good. My computer's fast.
Oh, that's right.
You
You want to dip into the commentary?
got some commentary for us,
Not
brother?
really, but we could dip in.
It says the Vedas are compared. Do you want to read that second paragraph? Of 3?
The Vedas are compared to the desire tree because they contain all things noble by man. They deal with mundane necessities as well as spiritual realization. The Vedas contain regulative principles of knowledge covering social, political, religious, economic, military, medicinal, chemical, physical, and metaphysical subject matter, and all that may be necessary to keep the body and soul together. Above and beyond all this are specific directions for spiritual realization. Regulative knowledge involves a gradual raising of the living entity to the spiritual platform, and the highest spiritual realization is knowledge that the personality of Godhead is the reservoir of all spiritual tastes or rasas.
Yeah, it's quite, I mean, we're staying at the Govardhan Eco Village. They have an incredible Ayurvedic clinic here. Ayurveda, if you're unfamiliar with Ayurveda, it's like an ancient science of healing. We like to give all the credit to the father of medicine was Hippocrates. Medicine's existed forever. And the ancient medicine of India is like, it's unbelievable. And it's just a different vantage point of way to see healing. And you'll go in there. I remember the first time I went into a Ayurvedic clinic, and I was like, okay, you ever go to like a massage place in the West? You're like, oh, I'll take a sports massage or a deep tissue or a Swedish. Give me a Swedish. I went in there that day once, my first time I ever went to an Ayurvedic place. I was like, I'll take the oil foot massage. And they're like, you will get whatever we tell you you're going to get. You just don't order up your massage. Everything is so specific. It's like so scientific about how to heal the body. Nothing's random. Like I'm feeling like a deep tissue massage. It's sort of like, this is where your body's at. This is what you need. This is what you should be eating. This is what you shouldn't be eating. I said, what are you talking about? Kaustubha's got the same symptoms as me. Yeah, but he's got a different body. So he's going to get a different treatment. And these guys are like scientists of Vedic science, but all of it is within a culture to bring your body to health so you can become a realized being. It all fits in perfectly to raising your consciousness. I don't want to just have this detoxified body so I can just die organic. Here's my organic corpse. We want to be liberated souls. We heal the body. We strengthen the body. We detoxify the body, right? Because we realize the body's a gift and we want to give back with the body. That's why we're doing all this stuff. If we're not going, that's why it's important in the West, as we see yoga, to zoom out from our vinyasa class, our hour-and-a-half vinyasa class. Why am I doing this in the first place? What's the purpose of all this stuff? I'm doing this up and down and breathing and even chanting. Where am I going with it all? You can get really lost in it. It can get confusing. If I'm looking at it like this, I got to step back and see the biggest picture. And the biggest picture is I'm not the body in the first place. I'm a spiritual being. I have to relabel myself. I thought I was an Italian-American New Yorker. I thought I was a male. I thought I was straight. I thought I was gay. They're all just names of the vehicle. I thought I was a Porsche. I thought, you're not a car. You're something so much more subtle. And you act according to what you label yourself. Isn't it? Careful what you label yourself and careful who you let label you. Try on this label. The Vedas give you a label. There is a real label. There's an original label. If you'd like to try it on, if you don't believe me, you can try it on for a few days, see how you like it. You're a pure spirit soul. You're eternal. You're born to give love. You have deep inherent knowledge. You are incredibly blissful. Try that one on. See if you like that one. I think it's better than I'm a New York Italian male. An eternal being filled with knowledge and love. Try that one on. See how it feels.
Will do.
When we start acting like what we are, then we become happy. When I stop acting in this dream, what is the dream? It's just one costume after another. I'm sure we could all remember different costumes we wore in high school. I was the punk guy. I was the heavy metal guy. I was the preppy guy. They're just one costume after another to try to be liked and accepted in this material world. Even the yogi guy could be another costume. Underneath this, even underneath our so-called religion, we are spirit. That's why they don't even have a concept of this word of religion in the East. It's Sanatana Dharma. We're all spiritual beings. It's nothing we can be converted to. We just forgot. We just forgot what we are. This whole culture of the East is to help us remember what we are. Just playing the bongos. I keep reaching for my glasses. They're not on my head. How are we doing, Mara?
2 minutes.
Okay, it's our 2-minute countdown. Aditi wrote this good question. She said, how do we know wait a second. Oh, that's Dana wrote that question. Aditi's from India, but she lives in New York. Aditi said, Prabhuji, with all respect, I want to ask, how do we know this Bhagavatam is not another illusion? Good question. I wrote on the board, I said, apply it and see if it works. Just like I just said, there's a label I gave you. See how it works. Apply that to your life. The Vedic teachings don't want you to accept things blindly. You hear a little and you try it. Just like if I'm trying to find out, hey, where are they serving food tonight? Well, you're going to walk down this road and then you're going to see a cow shed over on the right. At that cow shed, you keep going straight. Then you're going to see a big light. At that light, you're going to take a right. Every time Kaustubha gives me some direction, I was like, oh, that's what he said. It's going to be here. I keep going, right? Then I go to this next place and I say, oh yeah, go this way. Every time he gives me another instruction, my faith in him as the instruction giver strengthens. Have you ever asked somebody for instructions like in New York City? You're like, hey, how do you get to Times Square? I mean, first of all, you want to ask somebody for directions that looks respectable, making no judgment on unrespectable looking people. But I'm not going to ask someone who's intoxicated, who's laying on the streets or whatever. I wanted someone who's like, okay, I'm going to ask this guy. This cop is not going to tell me a lie, right? He could. That it's sort of blind faith. I don't know the person walking down the street, but once that person gives me instruction and the first instruction he gives is right on, I'd like, okay, maybe he knows what he's talking about. So there's an initial leap of faith, but even that leap of faith, what are we reading? We're reading a book that the entire culture, all the great saints of India studied. Woo! Well, that's our time. Anyway, we're going to come back with this tomorrow. Thanks for joining us here at the Govardhan Echo Village. Gruntaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki. Vrindavan Bihara Sri Krishna Bhagavan ki. Varsanawali Srimati Radhika ki. Shri Gurudev ki. Shri Prabhupada ki. Teacher trainees ki. All the Zoomers ki. And everybody who's joined us ki. Jai. Thanks, Kaustubha Prabhu. And we'll see you tomorrow at the same time. Bolo! What a zoom.
You gotta move it real slow.
Go back to Louis, go. Thanks to everybody who joined us late. Thanks to everybody who joined us on Zoom. We'll see you tomorrow. Haribol.
You know how to cut it?